He said it was just a business trip, but she was with him the whole time. The coffee mug slipped from Sarah's fingers, shattering against the kitchen floor in a cascade of ceramic fragments and lukewarm liquid, but she barely noticed. Her eyes remained fixed on the laptop screen where her husband's credit card statement glowed like an accusation in the morning light. 2 tickets to Paris. 2. David had said he was traveling alone. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the charges. L'Hôtel Romantique. Dinner for 2 at Le Jules Verne. A jewelry purchase from Cartier on the Champs-Élysées. Each line item was another crack in the foundation of their 12-year marriage. Another piece of evidence in a case she never wanted to build. The business trip had been planned for months. David, a senior marketing executive at a pharmaceutical company, had explained it all so carefully. It's just a conference, honey. 5 days in Paris, all meetings and presentations. I'll barely see anything beyond the hotel conference room. He'd kissed her goodbye at the airport with the same lips that had spoken those lies. Sarah sank into a kitchen chair, her mind racing backward through time, searching for signs she might have missed. Late nights at the office had become more frequent over the past year. Weekend golf games that stretched longer. The way he'd started password protecting his phone, claiming it was a new company security policy. And then there was Jessica. Jessica Chen, the new accounts manager in David's department. Young, brilliant, ambitious. Sarah had met her at the company Christmas party 6 months ago. She remembered how Jessica's hand had lingered a moment too long on David's arm, when she laughed at his jokes, how her eyes had followed him across the room. Sarah had dismissed her unease, then chalking it up to professional admiration. After all, David was Jessica's mentor. Mentor. The word tasted bitter now. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from her sister Emma. Still on for lunch today? She stared at the message, unable to formulate a response. How could she sit across from Emma and pretend everything was normal when her world was collapsing? But she typed back, "Yes, see you at noon." The morning crawled by in a haze of attempted normalcy. Sarah showered, dressed, went through the motions of her routine. But her mind kept returning to Paris, to what David and Jessica might be doing at this very moment. It was evening there now. Were they strolling along the Seine, sharing wine at a cafe, making love in a hotel room paid for with the credit card that also bought their children's school supplies? At lunch, Emma took one look at her and knew. What's wrong? Sarah tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. She pulled out her phone and showed Emma the credit card statement instead. Emma's face darkened. That bastard! I don't know what to do, Sarah whispered. The kids. We've built a whole life together. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's an explanation. 2 tickets, Sarah. 2. What possible explanation could there be? Sarah knew Emma was right, but part of her desperately wanted to cling to doubt. Certainty meant action. Certainty meant everything would change. That evening, she sat with their children, 10-year-old Michael and 8-year-old Lily, helping with homework, making dinner, maintaining the facade. Every smile felt like a betrayal of her own pain. When she tucked them in, Lily asked, "When's Daddy coming home?" 3 more days, sweetheart. I miss him, Lily murmured, already half asleep. I know, Sarah said, smoothing her daughter's hair. But did she know David at all anymore? Unable to sleep, Sarah found herself in David's home office at 2 a.m. She knew his laptop password, their anniversary date. Her fingers hesitated over the keys. Once she looked, there would be no going back, but she had to know. His email revealed everything. Messages between David and Jessica stretching back 8 months. The evolution from professional to personal to intimate was laid out in digital clarity. The planning for Paris, the lies they'd coordinated, the I love yous, that should have been hers alone. One email made her blood freeze. I hate lying to Sarah, but I can't give you up. After Paris, we'll figure out how to tell her. I want a life with you, Jess. A real life. Sarah printed every email, her tears blurring the pages. She moved mechanically, creating a file, organizing evidence, as if she were preparing a case for trial. In a way, she was. The next morning, she called her lawyer friend, Patricia. They met for coffee, and Sarah slid the folder across the table. Patricia's expression grew grim as she read. I'm so sorry, Sarah. What do you want to do? I don't know. I keep thinking about the kids about 12 years of marriage. But how can I pretend I don't know? You can't, Patricia said gently, and you shouldn't. You deserve better than this. Sarah spent the next 2 days in a strange twilight state. She consulted with Patricia about her options, opened her own bank account, and began quietly documenting their assets. She was surprised by her own methodical approach, as if someone else were directing her actions, while the real Sarah watched from a distance. She also did something she never thought she'd do. She hired a private investigator. If David wanted to play games, she'd learn all the rules. The investigator, a middle-aged woman named Carol, who looked more like a librarian than a PI, was efficient and discreet. Within 24 hours, she had photographs. David and Jessica at a Parisian cafe, their fingers intertwined, kissing on a bridge, entering their hotel together, his arm around her waist. But there's more, Carol said carefully. This isn't their first trip together. I found evidence of a weekend in Miami 3 months ago when he told you he was at a golf tournament. The Miami revelation broke something in Sarah. The conference in Chicago last fall. Had that been a lie too? The training seminar in Boston. How many business trips had been covers for their affair? How many times had he come home to her and the children fresh from another woman's bed? That night, Sarah sat in their bedroom staring at their wedding photo. They'd been so young, so certain of their love. David's eyes in the picture sparkled with promises he'd failed to keep. She traced his face with her finger, mourning not just her marriage, but the man she'd thought he was. Her phone rang. David's ringtone. Their song, At Last, by Etta James. The irony wasn't lost on her. Hi, honey. His voice was warm, casual. How's everything at home? Fine, she managed. How's the conference? Exhausting, back-to-back meetings. I've barely left the hotel. The lie slid so easily from his lips. Sarah closed her eyes, gripping the phone. The kids miss you. I miss them too, and you. I love you, Sarah. The words that once meant everything now meant nothing. I love you too, she said, because what else could she say not yet? Not over the phone. After they hung up, Sarah made her decision. She would not confront him immediately upon his return. She would not make a scene at the airport or ambush him with accusations. She would handle this with the same cold calculation he'd shown in planning his deception. The next 2 days passed in preparation. She met with a divorce attorney. Patricia recommended learning about custody arrangements and asset division. She arranged for the children to stay with her parents for a few days after David's return, telling them she and David needed some time alone to reconnect. She packed a bag for herself, ready to leave if necessary, and she planned the confrontation. Every word, every revelation timed for maximum impact. If David had taught her anything, it was that presentation mattered. The day of his return arrived gray and drizzling pathetic fallacy at its finest. Sarah dressed carefully, the red dress he'd bought her for their anniversary, the pearls from her grandmother. Armor disguised as elegance. She heard his key in the lock at 6 p.m. I'm home, he called out, voice bright with false cheer. In the dining room, she replied. He appeared in the doorway, travel-worn, but smiling, pulling his suitcase behind him. The smile faltered when he saw the table. Set for 2 candles lit their best china, and in the center a stack of printed emails and photographs. Sarah, the color drained from his face. Sit down, David. Tell me about Paris. Tell me about the conference. He remained frozen. What is this? This is the end of lying. Sit down. He moved like a man walking to his execution, sinking into the chair across from her. His eyes scanned the evidence, and she watched him realize the extent of her knowledge. Sarah, I can explain. No. Her voice was steady cold. You can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. 8 months, David. 8 months of lies, of betrayal, of coming home to me and our children while carrying on with her. It's not what you think. She laughed, a sharp sound devoid of humor. It's exactly what I think. I have emails, David. Your emails. I want a life with you, Jess. A real life. Remember writing that? He buried his face in his hands. Oh God, Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught. I never meant for it to happen. It just did. Affairs don't just happen, David. They're a series of choices. You chose to flirt with her. You chose to take her to lunch. You chose to kiss her the first time. You chose to sleep with her. You chose to lie to me over and over and over again. Tears ran down his face now. I know, God, I know. But Sarah, please, think about the kids. Think about our life together. We can get through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. Our life together. Sarah stood unable to sit across from him any longer. What life? The one built on lies. The one where you sneak off to Paris with your girlfriend while I'm home raising our children. That life is already over, David. You killed it. Don't say that. Please, I'll end it with Jessica. I'll transfer departments. You'll move out. Tonight, I've packed a bag for you. It's by the door. He stood too, reaching for her. Sarah, please, I love you. She stepped back. No, you don't. You love the convenience of me, the stability, the home I've made for you. But you don't love me. Someone who loves you doesn't do this. Where are the kids? At my parents'. They don't need to see this. What did you tell them? Nothing yet, but I won't lie to them the way you've lied to all of us. David was sobbing now, the controlled executive reduced to a broken man. I've ruined everything. Yeah, Sarah said simply. No, you have. She walked to the window, staring out at the rain. My lawyer will contact yours. We can do this civilly for the children's sake, or we can do it ugly. Your choice. Sarah, get out, David. She heard him move toward the door, his footsteps heavy. He paused. For what it's worth, I did love you. I do love you. She didn't turn around. That's the saddest part. You threw away real love for an infatuation. You destroyed our family for someone you've known less than a year. Tell me, was she worth it? The door closed behind him without an answer. Sarah stood at the window until his car disappeared into the night. Then finally she allowed herself to cry. Great wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. She cried for the marriage that was over, for the future they'd never have, for the pain their children would endure. She cried for the woman she'd been that morning, who still believed in the fiction of their life together. When the tears finally stopped, she felt empty, but strangely clear. She walked through the house, seeing it with new eyes. The family photos on the mantel. They'd need to be edited. The closet full of his clothes. That would be empty space to reclaim. His coffee mug by the sink. One less dish to wash. Her phone buzzed. A text from Emma. How did it go? It's done, she typed back. Are you okay? Sarah considered the question. Was she okay? No. She was shattered, frightened, angry, beyond measure. But underneath all of that, she detected something else. Relief. The constant nagging feeling that something was wrong had been validated. The gaslighting was over. The truth, painful as it was, had set her free from the prison of pretense. I will be, she replied. Over the following days, Sarah discovered reserves of strength she didn't know she possessed. She told the children an age-appropriate version of the truth. That Daddy had broken an important promise, that adults sometimes made mistakes that couldn't be fixed, that both parents still loved them completely. Michael, old enough to understand more, asked if Daddy had been with another woman. Sarah's honest yes seemed to satisfy his need for truth. David tried to reconcile, of course. Flowers arrived daily until she told the florist to stop delivering them. He wrote letters proclaiming his love, his regret, his desperate desire to fix things. Jessica, he claimed, meant nothing. It had been a midlife crisis, a moment of insanity. He'd already ended it. But Carol, the investigator, provided one final piece of information that sealed David's fate. Jessica was pregnant. Sarah delivered this news to David in their lawyer's office, watching as the last hope drained from his face. Were you ever going to tell me? She asked. His silence was answer enough. The divorce proceeded with surprising speed. Sarah got primary custody of the house and a generous settlement. David got his freedom to pursue his real life with Jessica. Though rumor had it, their relationship didn't survive the transition from secret affair to public reality. The baby, however, meant they'd be connected forever, a complication Sarah was grateful she didn't have to navigate. 6 months after that terrible night in Paris, Sarah stood in her kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd first discovered the truth. The broken mug had long been swept away, but she could still remember the moment of shattering both ceramic and certainty. She was different now. Harder in some ways, softer in others. She'd learned to sleep in the middle of the bed, to make decisions without consultation, to be both mother and father when necessary. The children were adjusting their resilience, a constant source of amazement. Her phone buzzed. A text from a man named Tom, whom she'd met at a book club Emma had dragged her to. Coffee tomorrow. Sarah hesitated. She wasn't ready for anything serious, might never be ready to trust that completely again. But coffee was a start. Sure, she typed, but just coffee. Just coffee, he agreed. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes for the first time in months. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light across the kitchen. The house felt different now. No longer a monument to betrayal, but a space reclaimed, reformed, renewed. Her marriage was over, but her life was not. David had taken one story from her, but she was already writing another. This one would be hers alone, to tell, built on truth instead of lies, strength instead of dependence, hope instead of naive trust. She poured herself a cup of coffee, in a new mug one she'd bought herself, and sat down to review legal documents. Not divorce papers this time, but applications for graduate school. She was going back for her MBA, the dream she'd deferred when the children were born. It was time to invest in herself, the way she'd once invested in a marriage built on sand. Her phone rang. David's ringtone. She still hadn't changed it. But now Etta James's voice seemed less ironic, more prophetic. At last, she was free. She let it go to voicemail. Whatever he wanted to say could wait. She had a future to plan, and it no longer included him. The business trip to Paris had ended one story, but Sarah was ready to begin another. This time she'd be traveling solo, and that was exactly how she wanted it. Some journeys she'd learned were meant to be taken alone. As she worked the afternoon sun warming her face, Sarah reflected on the strange gratitude she felt. Not for the affair. That pain might never fully heal, but for the revelation it brought. She was stronger than she'd known, braver than she'd believed, and worth more than a man who could look her in the eye and lie. David had said it was just a business trip. In a way, he'd been right. He'd been in the business of deception, and she'd been the unwitting client. But that contract was now terminated, the partnership dissolved, and Sarah was finally truly open for business on her own terms. The sound of her children's laughter drifted in from the backyard where they were playing with the new puppy she'd bought them, a decision she'd made without consulting anyone. She smiled, closing her laptop and heading outside to join them. The past was written, but the future remained a blank page. And for the first time since that coffee mug shattered on the kitchen floor, Sarah was eager to see what story she would write next.